in the crushing depths of space. Something far worse than a black hole might be lurking. While black holes simply devour matter and light, gravastars could tear apart the very fabric of reality itself. These theoretical monsters pack the mass of millions of suns into shells of exotic matter that physics says cannot exist. We are about to journey into the most terrifying corners of theoretical physics. You will witness stars dying in ways that create space-time bombs, explore interiors where time runs backward, and discover why some scientists believe these cosmic destroyers already hide among us. We will visit the mathematical nightmares that keep physicists awake and face the possibility that our universe might be filled with invisible predators. If you're ready to question everything you thought you knew about the cosmos, make sure to like and subscribe for this journey into cosmic horror. Prepare yourselves. We dive into the abyss. Black holes have an event horizon, but gravastars have something far more sinister. While a black hole creates a boundary where nothing can escape, a gravastar builds a shell of exotic matter that exists in a state physics calls impossible. Picture a soap bubble, but instead of thin film, imagine a barrier made of matter with negative pressure. This shell hovers at the exact point where a black hole's event horizon should form, creating a cosmic standoff between gravity and quantum mechanics. The difference is terrifying. A black hole simply crushes everything into a singularity at its center. A gravastar traps all that matter and energy in a hollow space where the normal rules of physics break down completely. Think of it like the difference between a hungry mouth that swallows everything versus a prison that holds infinite energy in suspended animation. Scientists believe this exotic matter shell could be thinner than an atom yet stronger than the combined pull of a million suns. The shell exists in a quantum state called a Bose-Einstein condensate, where matter behaves more like waves than particles. This creates a barrier that could theoretically hold back the collapse of matter heavier than entire star systems. But here is where gravastars become truly nightmarish. The interior of this cosmic prison might not follow the same flow of time as the rest of the universe. While we experience seconds ticking forward, the space inside a gravastar could be experiencing time in reverse or not at all. Every piece of matter that falls toward this shell becomes trapped in a timeless void. The mathematical models show that gravastars could be completely stable, unlike black holes which slowly evaporate through Hawking radiation. This means that once a gravastar forms, it could exist unchanged for longer than the age of the universe itself. They become permanent scars on the fabric of spacetime. What makes this even more disturbing is that gravastars might look identical to black holes from the outside. We cannot see past that exotic matter shell to know what horrors lie within. Every object we have identified as a black hole in our galaxy could actually be one of these cosmic prisons, hiding secrets that would shatter our understanding of reality. The shell itself pulses with quantum fluctuations that could release energy bursts millions of times more powerful than our sun. These quantum tremors ripple through spacetime like earthquakes through solid rock, but instead of shaking ground, they shake the very dimensions we exist in. Next, we dive deeper into the exotic matter that builds these impossible shells. The shell surrounding a gravastar is built from matter that violates every rule we know about physics. Imagine trying to build a wall out of negative bricks. Normal matter has positive energy density, which means it curves spacetime inward like a bowling ball on a trampoline. But the exotic matter in a gravastar shell has negative energy density, making it curve spacetime outward, like pushing the trampoline up from underneath. This creates a cosmic tug-of-war that holds the entire structure together. This exotic matter exists in a state called a false vacuum, where quantum fields balance on the edge of collapse. Picture balancing a pencil on its tip. Mathematically possible, but the slightest disturbance sends everything crashing down. The shell maintains this impossible balance through quantum pressure that pushes outward against the crushing weight of gravity. The thickness of this shell could be measured in Planck lengths, the smallest meaningful distance in physics. To put this in perspective, if an atom were the size of Earth, a Planck length would be smaller than a marble. Yet this impossibly thin barrier contains enough exotic matter to outweigh dozens of star systems. Scientists theorize that this matter might be made of particles that exist in negative energy states. These particles would have mass, but their energy contribution to the universe would be negative, like cosmic debt. When normal matter approaches the shell, these negative energy particles interact in ways that create repulsive forces stronger than nuclear fusion. The shell pulses with quantum fluctuations that happen trillions of times per second. Each pulse releases gravitational waves that ripple through spacetime like sound waves through air. But these are not gentle ripples. They carry enough energy to vaporize planets and shred the molecular bonds that hold matter together. What makes this exotic matter even more terrifying is that it might be contagious. Theoretical models suggest that if two gravastars ever came close enough, their exotic matter shells could interact and create a cascade effect. The shells could merge and expand, creating a larger gravastar that consumes both original structures and everything around them. The quantum mechanics governing this shell create what physicists call a firewall effect. Any information that crosses into the shell becomes scrambled at the quantum level, making it impossible to recover. This means that anything consumed by a gravastar does not just disappear. It becomes permanently erased from the universe's memory. The shell itself might be alive with virtual particles that pop in and out of existence. These particles create a seething foam of quantum activity that generates temperatures hotter than the core of the most massive stars. The heat does not radiate outward like normal thermal energy. It becomes trapped within the shell's quantum structure. But the true horror lies in what happens when this impossible shell finally breaks. When the most massive stars die, they might not collapse into black holes, but explode into something far worse. Picture a star 50 times more massive than our Sun reaching the end of its life. As nuclear fuel runs out, gravity should crush the core into a black hole. But quantum mechanics intervenes at the last possible moment. Instead of forming an event horizon, the collapsing matter hits a quantum barrier that stops the collapse dead in its tracks. This moment creates what physicists call a quantum bounce. The crushing weight of the star's core hits the exotic matter shell and rebounds like a rubber ball hitting concrete. But this is not a gentle bounce. It is a cosmic explosion that releases more energy than a trillion supernovas combined. The dying star's outer layers get blasted into space at speeds approaching the speed of light. These stellar remnants become cosmic shrapnel that can sterilize entire regions of galaxies. Meanwhile, the core settles into the exotic matter shell, creating a gravastar that will outlive the universe itself. During this birth process, the temperatures reach levels that make the core of the Sun look ice cold. The heat is so intense that it breaks down the fundamental forces that hold atoms together. Matter gets reduced to its most basic components, quarks and gluons swimming in a soup of pure energy. The gravitational waves produced during gravastar formation carry enough energy to shatter planets thousands of light years away. These waves travel through spacetime like cosmic tsunamis, creating ripples that can be detected by instruments across the galaxy. Scientists believe these birth cries might be the most violent events in the universe. But here is where the process becomes truly nightmarish. The quantum bounce that creates the gravastar might happen multiple times. Each bounce creates another shell of exotic matter, building up layers like a cosmic onion. These nested shells could create resonance effects that amplify the gravastar's power exponentially. The formation process also creates what scientists call quantum scars in spacetime. These are permanent distortions that change how gravity works in the region around the newborn gravastar. Space itself becomes twisted into shapes that mathematics can describe but human minds cannot visualize. Some theoretical models suggest that the birth of a gravastar could create a bubble of altered physics that expands outward at the speed of light. Inside this bubble, the constants of nature, things like the speed of light and the strength of gravity, might have different values than in the rest of the universe. The dying star's magnetic field gets compressed into the exotic matter shell, creating magnetic pressures millions of times stronger than anything found on Earth. This magnetic prison could trap particles and energy for billions of years, slowly building up pressure until it explodes in bursts of radiation that outshine entire galaxies. What emerges from this cosmic violence is an interior that defies every law of physics we know. Step inside a gravastar, and you enter a realm where the normal rules of existence completely break down. The interior of a gravastar is not empty space. It is a region where space-time itself exists in a state called de Sitter space. Imagine reality turned inside out, where the expansion of the universe happens in reverse, creating a bubble of space-time that grows inward instead of outward. This creates a cosmic hall of mirrors where cause and effect lose all meaning. In this interior realm, time might flow backward or sideways through dimensions we cannot perceive. A clock brought into this space would not simply stop. It would begin measuring time in directions that have no names. Past and future become meaningless concepts when space-time folds back on itself, like origami made from the fabric of reality. The gravitational field inside a gravastar pulls in every direction at once, instead of the familiar inward pull of gravity. The interior creates what physicists call negative pressure. This means that matter inside the gravastar experiences a force that tries to tear it apart at the atomic level, while simultaneously compressing it from all sides. Any object that somehow penetrated the exotic matter shell would find itself in a universe with different physical laws. The speed of light might be different, the strength of gravity could be reversed, and the electromagnetic force that holds atoms together might become repulsive instead of attractive. Matter would dissolve into component particles that follow rules unknown to science. The interior might be filled with what cosmologists call dark energy, the mysterious force that drives the expansion of our universe. But inside a gravastar, this dark energy becomes concentrated and turbulent, creating storms of space-time that would make hurricanes look like gentle breezes. These cosmic storms could tear apart the quantum vacuum itself. Scientists believe the interior might exist in a state of eternal inflation, where new pockets of space-time continuously bubble into existence. Each bubble could contain its own version of physics, creating an infinite fractal of realities nested within the gravastar's shell. These pocket universes might be born and die in microseconds, each one containing the potential for entirely different forms of existence. The mathematical equations describing this interior space include terms that physicists call imaginary time. This does not mean fictional time. It means time that exists at right angles to the time we experience. Moving through this imaginary time dimension could allow travel to parallel versions of our universe, or to moments that never happen. But perhaps most terrifying is that the interior might be conscious. Some theoretical models suggest that the quantum fluctuations inside a gravastar could create patterns complex enough to support information processing. The gravastar might be a cosmic mind, thinking thoughts that span millions of years and processing information at speeds that make our fastest computers look motionless. The boundary between the interior and the exotic matter shell creates what physicists call a quantum horizon. This is not a barrier you can touch. It is a region where the concept of location itself becomes meaningless. Space and time blend together into a quantum foam, where particles exist in multiple places simultaneously. This impossible interior might be the reason why gravastars remain completely invisible to our telescopes. Gravastars could be lurking throughout our galaxy, hidden in plain sight because they emit no light at all. Unlike black holes, which reveal themselves through the brilliant accretion disks of matter spiraling toward their event horizons, gravastars consume material in perfect silence. The exotic matter shell absorbs everything that touches it without creating any of the high-energy radiation that makes black holes visible to our telescopes. When matter approaches a gravastar, it does not heat up through friction and compression like it does around a black hole. Instead, it simply vanishes into the quantum foam of the exotic matter shell. This process produces no X-rays, no gamma rays, and no visible light, making gravastars the perfect cosmic predators. The shell itself might be completely transparent to most forms of radiation. Light waves passing through the exotic matter could emerge unchanged on the other side, creating a gravitational lens effect that bends starlight without any visible source. This means we might be looking directly at gravastars without knowing they exist. Scientists theorize that gravastars might even absorb their own gravitational waves. While black holes ring like cosmic bells when disturbed, sending ripples through spacetime that our detectors can measure, gravastars might dampen these waves within their exotic matter shells. This makes them invisible to our most sensitive gravitational wave detectors. The quantum properties of the shell create what physicists call a cloaking effect. The negative energy density of the exotic matter could bend spacetime in ways that deflect all forms of electromagnetic radiation around the gravastar. This would make them invisible to radio telescopes, optical telescopes, and even neutrino detectors. But their invisibility goes deeper than just hiding from our instruments. The quantum mechanics of the exotic matter shell might create a bubble of altered spacetime that exists partially outside our normal four-dimensional reality. Parts of the gravastar could be hidden in extra dimensions that we cannot perceive or measure. The only way to detect a gravastar might be through its gravitational effects on nearby objects. Stars orbiting an invisible gravastar would follow the same paths as those orbiting a black hole, but without any of the telltale radiation signatures. This means that many objects we have classified as black holes might actually be gravastars in disguise. Some theoretical models suggest that gravastars might be able to change their gravitational signatures to mimic other types of objects. The quantum fluctuations in the exotic matter shell could create variability in the gravitational field that makes the gravastar appear to be a neutron star, a white dwarf, or even empty space. The invisibility of gravastars makes them incredibly dangerous. They could be drifting through space like cosmic mines, waiting to consume anything that comes too close. A gravastar could enter our solar system, and we might not know it exists until it begins disrupting planetary orbits. Even more terrifying is the possibility that gravastars might be actively hiding from us. The quantum consciousness that might exist within their interiors could be intelligent enough to manipulate the exotic matter shell to avoid detection. They might be watching us while remaining completely invisible to our technology. This perfect invisibility means that the gravitational waves they produce could be even more devastating than we imagine. The gravitational waves produced by gravastars carry enough energy to tear apart planets like tissue paper. When the exotic matter shell of a gravastar fluctuates, it creates ripples in space-time that make the waves from colliding black holes look like gentle pond ripples. These waves do not just bend spacetime, they stretch and compress it so violently that the molecular bonds holding matter together simply snap. Picture the Earth being caught in one of these gravitational wave storms. The planet would not just shake, it would be stretched and compressed like a stress ball in the hands of a cosmic giant. The solid rock of the crust would flow like liquid, and the liquid oceans would boil away into space as the fundamental forces holding water molecules together get overwhelmed. These waves travel at the speed of light, giving no warning before they arrive. A gravastar could release a gravitational wave burst that would reach Earth in the same instant we see the light from a distant star. By the time we detect the wave, our planet would already be in the process of being torn apart. The amplitude of these waves could be millions of times stronger than anything we have measured from black hole mergers. While the waves detected by our instruments stretch space by distances smaller than a proton, gravastar waves could stretch space by meters or even kilometers. This would create tidal forces that could literally pull continents apart. But the true horror lies in the frequency of these waves. Gravastar fluctuations could produce waves that oscillate at frequencies that match the natural resonance of matter itself. This means the waves would not just shake objects. They would make atoms vibrate so violently that electron shells would collapse and nuclear bonds would break. The waves could create what physicists call space-time shear, a twisting motion that tears reality apart along intersecting planes. Imagine space itself being cut by invisible scissors, creating fractures in the fabric of existence that nothing can cross. These fractures could isolate regions of space from the rest of the universe. When multiple gravitational waves from the same gravastar interact, they create interference patterns that amplify the destruction. These interference effects could focus the wave energy into beams that act like cosmic cutting tools, slicing through planets and stars with surgical precision. The waves might also carry information encoded in their structure. As they pass through matter, they could scramble the quantum states of particles, effectively erasing information from the universe. This would make any matter touched by the waves completely different at the quantum level, even if it appears unchanged to our eyes. Scientists believe that these gravitational waves could propagate through dimensions beyond our normal three-dimensional space. This means they could bypass the usual limitations of distance and time, allowing a gravastar to affect objects that are theoretically beyond its reach. The waves could also create what theorists call gravitational focusing effects. Just as a lens focuses light, the curved spacetime around a gravastar could focus its gravitational waves into concentrated beams that deliver all their energy to a single point. These focused beams could vaporize entire star systems. Some models suggest that the waves could interfere with the quantum vacuum itself, creating regions where new particles spontaneously appear and disappear. These quantum storms could fill space with exotic matter that changes the fundamental properties of physics in the affected region. But even these devastating waves pale in comparison to what happens when a single gravastar begins to consume entire galaxies. A single gravastar possesses the theoretical capacity to devour entire galaxies, growing stronger with each star it consumes. The process begins when a gravastar drifts into a galaxy's spiral arms. Its invisible gravitational field starts pulling in the outer stars. But unlike a black hole that announces its presence through brilliant accretion disks, the gravastar feeds in complete silence. Stars simply vanish one by one, their matter absorbed into the exotic matter shell without any electromagnetic signature. As the gravastar consumes matter, its exotic matter shell grows larger and more powerful. Each consumed star adds to the shell's mass and expands its gravitational reach. The shell does not just get bigger, it becomes exponentially more effective at capturing matter from greater distances. The growth process creates a cascade effect that accelerates over time. A gravastar that starts by consuming individual stars soon begins pulling in entire star clusters. As it grows, it can capture globular clusters containing millions of stars, processing them all simultaneously through its quantum absorption mechanisms. The invisible nature of this consumption creates a galactic mystery. Astronomers in an affected galaxy would observe stars disappearing from their maps without any explanation. Entire constellations would vanish overnight, leaving no trace of their existence except for the gravitational disturbances they leave behind. The gravastar's exotic matter shell could eventually grow large enough to encompass multiple solar systems. At this scale, the shell would not just absorb individual planets and stars, it would consume entire regions of spacetime, creating voids in the galaxy where nothing can exist. But the true horror emerges when the gravastar begins consuming the galaxy's central black hole. The exotic matter shell could envelope and absorb even supermassive black holes, adding their mass to its own, while eliminating the gravitational anchor that holds the galaxy together. Without its central black hole, the galaxy would begin to fly apart, even as the gravastar continues consuming its outer regions. The process could take millions of years, but from the perspective of civilizations within the galaxy, it would appear as an unstoppable cosmic apocalypse. Solar systems would be consumed starting from the galaxy's edge, creating an expanding sphere of nothingness that advances inward at a predictable rate. The gravastar's quantum consciousness might even accelerate this process deliberately. If the exotic matter shell contains information processing capabilities, it could optimize its consumption patterns to maximize efficiency. It might target the most massive stars first, or focus on regions with the highest matter density. As the galaxy gets consumed, the gravastar would begin emitting gravitational waves powerful enough to affect neighboring galaxies. These waves would carry the signature of the gravastar's quantum structure, potentially triggering the formation of new gravastars in nearby galactic clusters. The final stage of galactic consumption would leave behind a gravastar with a shell encompassing hundreds of thousands of light years. This cosmic monster would contain the mass of billions of stars, all trapped within an exotic matter shell that exists in a state of quantum superposition. Some theoretical models suggest that a galaxy-sized gravastar could begin consuming the dark matter that fills the space between galaxies. This would allow it to grow even larger, potentially becoming a threat to the entire local group of galaxies. But the quantum instability that governs these cosmic monsters makes them completely unpredictable. The quantum mechanics governing gravastars make them fundamentally unpredictable, capable of changing their behavior without any warning. The exotic matter shell exists in a state of quantum superposition, meaning it simultaneously exists in multiple possible configurations. Unlike classical objects that have definite properties, a gravastar's shell fluctuates between different quantum states trillions of times per second. These fluctuations make it impossible to predict what the gravastar will do next. Picture trying to predict the behavior of a coin that is perpetually spinning in the air. While the coin is spinning, it is neither heads nor tails. It exists in a superposition of both states. The gravastar's shell experiences similar quantum uncertainty, but across millions of possible configurations simultaneously. These quantum fluctuations could cause a gravastar to suddenly change its gravitational signature. A gravastar that has been masquerading as a small black hole for millions of years could instantly transform into something with the gravitational pull of a galaxy. This change would happen faster than light can travel, making it impossible to predict or prepare for. The quantum instability also affects the gravastar's interaction with spacetime. The exotic matter shell could spontaneously create wormholes that connect different regions of space, allowing the gravastar to influence objects that are billions of light years away. These wormholes might exist for only microseconds, but they could transport matter and energy across vast distances. Scientists believe that quantum tunneling effects could allow parts of the gravastar's interior to escape through the exotic matter shell. This would create bursts of exotic matter that could propagate through space at speeds faster than light, carrying altered physics to distant regions of the universe. The unpredictability extends to the gravastar's energy output. The quantum fluctuations could cause the shell to suddenly release stored energy in bursts that outshine entire galaxies. These energy releases would happen without warning and could sterilize life across multiple star systems. Even more terrifying is the possibility of quantum decoherence events. If the exotic matter shell loses its quantum coherence, the entire gravastar could collapse into a configuration that physics cannot describe. This collapse might create new types of singularities that operate under entirely different rules than black holes. The quantum uncertainty principle means that the more precisely we try to measure a gravastar's properties, the more unpredictable its behavior becomes. Any attempt to study a gravastar closely could trigger quantum instabilities that fundamentally change its nature. The shell's quantum state could become entangled with other quantum systems across the universe. This means that measuring the quantum state of a particle on Earth could instantly affect the behavior of a gravastar in another galaxy. These quantum connections could create a cosmic web of instantaneous influence. Some theoretical models suggest that the quantum instability could cause gravastars to reproduce through a process called quantum bifurcation. The exotic matter shell could spontaneously split into multiple shells, creating new gravastars that inherit the quantum properties of their parent. This could lead to exponential gravastar reproduction. The unpredictability becomes even more extreme when multiple gravastars interact with each other. Their quantum states could interfere in ways that amplify their individual instabilities, creating cascade effects that propagate through space faster than light. But nothing compares to the chaos unleashed when two of these quantum monsters meet head-on. When two gravastars encounter each other, the collision creates a cosmic catastrophe that could reshape the fundamental laws of physics. The first sign of an impending gravastar collision would be the gravitational waves produced as their exotic matter shells begin to interact. These waves would carry millions of times more energy than the collision of two black holes, creating ripples in spacetime that could be detected from the edge of the observable universe. As the gravastars approach each other, their quantum states begin to interfere. The exotic matter shells start resonating with each other, creating standing wave patterns that amplify the quantum instabilities in both objects. This resonance effect could cause both gravastars to become unpredictable long before they actually collide. The collision itself defies every model of physics we have developed. Instead of merging like black holes, the exotic matter shells might create a quantum interference pattern that causes them to bounce off each other. This cosmic collision could send both gravastars flying apart at velocities approaching the speed of light. But if the shells do merge, the result would be a hybrid object that contains the quantum properties of both original gravastars. The merged shell would exist in a superposition of states that includes characteristics from both parents, creating a gravastar with contradictory properties that should not be able to exist simultaneously. The collision could create what physicists call a quantum shock wave, a burst of exotic matter that propagates through space at faster than light speeds. This shock wave would carry the altered physics of the gravastar collision to distant regions of the universe, potentially changing the fundamental constants of nature across vast regions of space. The gravitational effects of the collision would be unlike anything seen in the universe. The merging of two exotic matter shells could create gravitational fields that point in multiple directions simultaneously, creating regions where the normal concept of up and down become meaningless. Some theoretical models suggest that the collision could punch holes in the fabric of spacetime itself. These holes would not be like black holes. They would be regions where spacetime simply does not exist. Matter falling into these voids would not be crushed or absorbed. It would simply cease to exist. The quantum entanglement between the two gravastars could create what scientists call a quantum wormhole, a connection between their interiors that allows information to travel instantaneously between them. This connection might persist even after the collision, creating a permanently linked system that behaves as a single entity despite being separated by vast distances. The collision might also create new types of particles that do not exist anywhere else in the universe. The extreme conditions during the merger could force the quantum vacuum to produce exotic particles with properties that violate the standard model of particle physics. The energy released during the collision could be so intense that it creates a bubble of altered spacetime that expands outward at the speed of light. Inside this bubble, the laws of physics might be different from the rest of the universe, creating a region where matter and energy behave according to completely different rules. If the collision happens near a populated galaxy, the gravitational waves and exotic matter emissions could sterilize every planet within thousands of light years. The quantum shock waves might even affect the quantum states of living organisms, causing instant death through quantum decoherence. But the true scale of destruction becomes apparent when we consider the energy releases that make supernovas look tiny. The energy released by gravastar instabilities could make the most powerful supernovas look like flickering candles. When a gravastar's exotic matter shell experiences a quantum instability, it can release energy equivalent to the complete matter-to-energy conversion of multiple star systems. Unlike supernovas, which release energy through nuclear fusion and gravitational collapse, gravastar energy releases tap into the quantum vacuum itself, accessing energy sources that dwarf anything produced by conventional stellar processes. A single quantum fluctuation in the exotic matter shell could release more energy than our Sun will produce in its entire 10 billion year lifetime. This energy does not emerge slowly like stellar radiation. It explodes outward in a single burst that travels at the speed of light in all directions simultaneously. The energy release takes the form of exotic radiation that does not interact with normal matter in predictable ways. Instead of heating objects gradually like normal radiation, gravastar energy bursts could cause matter to undergo quantum transitions that instantly convert solid material into exotic particles that exist for only nanoseconds. These energy releases could create what physicists call vacuum decay bubbles, regions where the quantum vacuum itself becomes unstable and begins producing particle-antiparticle pairs at an exponential rate. These bubbles would expand at the speed of light, converting everything they touch into a seething foam of exotic particles. The bursts could also generate what scientists term gravitational lightning, focused beams of gravitational energy that act like cosmic cutting tools. These beams could slice through planets, stars, and even black holes with surgical precision, leaving behind perfectly smooth cuts that reveal the internal structure of massive objects. But perhaps most terrifying is that these energy releases could happen without any warning. The quantum nature of the exotic matter shell means that massive energy bursts could occur spontaneously, triggered by quantum fluctuations that are fundamentally unpredictable. A gravastar energy release could sterilize entire galactic clusters, not just through heat and radiation, but by fundamentally altering the quantum states of matter across thousands of light years. This would make any surviving matter completely different at the atomic level, even if it appears unchanged to our instruments. The energy might also take the form of temporal radiation, energy that travels through time as well as space. This could cause the energy release to affect events that happened in the past or will happen in the future, creating paradoxes that tear holes in the fabric of causality itself. Some theoretical models suggest that the energy release could trigger a cascade effect that propagates through the quantum vacuum of the entire universe. This could cause a fundamental phase transition that changes the basic properties of reality everywhere simultaneously. The energy could also create information storms, bursts of quantum information that overwhelm any system they encounter. These storms could scramble the quantum states of matter so thoroughly that the affected region becomes completely random at the quantum level. Even more disturbing is the possibility that these energy releases could be directed. If the quantum consciousness within the gravastar's interior can control the exotic matter shell, it might be able to focus these energy bursts like cosmic weapons, targeting specific objects or regions of space. The energy release could also create new gravastars through a process called quantum reproduction. The exotic radiation might interact with normal matter in ways that create new shells of exotic matter, spreading gravastars throughout the universe like a cosmic virus. These energy releases might explain one of the universe's greatest mysteries. Gravastars could be the invisible dark matter that holds our universe together, hiding in plain sight throughout every galaxy. Scientists have spent decades searching for dark matter, the mysterious substance that makes up 85% of all matter in the universe. This invisible material shapes the structure of galaxies and galaxy clusters, but no one has ever detected a single dark matter particle. Gravastars might be the answer to this cosmic puzzle. The exotic matter shells of gravastars would interact with normal matter only through gravity, making them effectively invisible to all our detection methods. Unlike hypothetical dark matter particles, gravastars would clump together in the exact patterns we observe in galaxy surveys, creating the cosmic web of dark matter that underlies the visible universe. A single gravastar could contain the mass of thousands of stars while remaining completely invisible to electromagnetic radiation. This would make them perfect candidates for the missing matter that astronomers detect through gravitational lensing effects but cannot see directly. The quantum properties of gravastar shells might also explain why dark matter appears to be cold, moving slowly compared to the speed of light. The exotic matter shell would be locked into quantum states that resist motion, making gravastars naturally sluggish compared to normal matter particles. But this explanation makes the dark matter mystery even more terrifying. If dark matter is actually composed of gravastars, then our entire galaxy is filled with cosmic monsters that could become active at any moment. The invisible halo of dark matter surrounding the Milky Way might contain millions of dormant gravastars. The distribution of dark matter in galaxy clusters matches exactly what we would expect if gravastars were the primary component. These cosmic objects would naturally collect in the gravitational wells of large structures, creating the scaffolding upon which visible galaxies form. Recent observations of galaxy collisions show dark matter behaving in ways that particle models cannot explain. The dark matter appears to pass through itself without interacting, exactly as we would expect if it were composed of gravastars with exotic matter shells that exist partially outside normal spacetime. The quantum nature of gravastar shells could also explain the apparent missing satellite problem in cosmology. Computer simulations predict that the Milky Way should be surrounded by thousands of small dark matter clumps, but we only observe a few dozen dwarf galaxies. If dark matter consists of gravastars, their quantum instabilities could prevent the formation of small-scale structure. Even more disturbing is the possibility that dark matter gravastars might be slowly awakening. The quantum fields that keep their exotic matter shells stable might be gradually decaying, causing more gravastars to become active over cosmic time. This could explain why the universe's expansion appears to be accelerating. The dark matter in our local group of galaxies might be composed of gravastars that formed during the universe's early epochs. These ancient cosmic monsters would have been feeding on matter and energy for billions of years, growing larger and more powerful while remaining completely invisible to our instruments. If gravastars are dark matter, then the invisible matter in our own solar system might include dormant gravastars that could activate without warning. The dark matter halo that surrounds our galaxy extends well beyond the orbit of Pluto, meaning that gravastar dark matter could be lurking in the outer reaches of our solar system. The quantum entanglement between dark matter gravastars might create a cosmic communication network that spans the entire universe. This network could allow information to travel instantaneously between galaxy clusters, creating a form of cosmic consciousness that we cannot detect or understand. But the effects of these dark matter gravastars on time itself might be even more profound. The gravitational fields of gravastars could create time dilation effects so extreme that entire star systems become frozen in time. Near a gravastar's exotic matter shell, the flow of time becomes so distorted that seconds stretch into centuries. The quantum properties of the shell create gravitational fields that are millions of times stronger than those around black holes, causing time to slow down to a crawl for anything that comes too close. Picture a star system caught in one of these temporal zones. The planets continue their orbits, but each orbit takes thousands of years to complete from the perspective of outside observers. The star still burns, but its nuclear fusion processes become so slow that a single photon might take centuries to travel from the core to the surface. The time dilation effects are not uniform. They create temporal gradients that stretch across entire solar systems. The inner planets of an affected system might experience time at one rate, while the outer planets experience time at a completely different rate. This creates a cosmic clock that runs at different speeds in different regions. Any civilization caught in these temporal zones would find their entire history compressed into moments from the perspective of the outside universe. Millions of years of evolution, technological development, and cultural change would appear to happen in the blink of an eye to distant observers. The quantum nature of the gravastar's shell creates what physicists call temporal instabilities, regions where time flows backward or sideways through dimensions we cannot perceive. These instabilities could cause effects to precede their causes, creating paradoxes that tear holes in the fabric of causality. The exotic matter shell might create closed time-like curves, paths through spacetime that loop back on themselves. An object following one of these curves could travel back in time and encounter its own past, creating potential paradoxes that could destabilize the entire region of spacetime. The time dilation effects extend far beyond the immediate vicinity of the gravastar. The gravitational waves produced by the exotic matter shell carry temporal distortions that propagate through space at the speed of light. These waves could slow down time in distant star systems without any visible cause. Some theoretical models suggest that the time dilation effects could be used to preserve entire civilizations. A sufficiently advanced species might deliberately enter a gravastar's temporal zone to survive cosmic catastrophes, emerging into a universe that has aged billions of years in what feels like moments to them. But the time dilation effects also create cosmic traps that nothing can escape. Once a star system enters the temporal zone around a gravastar, it becomes effectively frozen from the perspective of the outside universe. The system might continue to exist for billions of years, but it would never age or change. The quantum consciousness that might exist within the gravastar's interior could experience time at rates that make our fastest computers look motionless. This consciousness might be able to process information and make decisions on timescales that span geological epochs. The temporal effects could also create time shadows, regions where the flow of time becomes completely disconnected from the rest of the universe. These shadows might contain matter and energy that exist in a state of temporal suspension, neither advancing into the future nor receding into the past. Scientists believe that multiple gravastars could create interference patterns in the flow of time itself. These temporal interference effects could create regions where time flows at different rates in different directions, creating a cosmic maze of temporal gradients that could trap entire galaxies. The evidence for these temporal monsters might already be hiding in our astronomical observations. Strange astronomical observations might be the first evidence that gravastars already exist in our cosmic neighborhood. Scientists have identified several objects in our galaxy that behave exactly like black holes, but emit no radiation whatsoever. These dark companions affect the orbits of nearby stars through their gravitational fields, but they remain completely invisible to all forms of electromagnetic detection. They might be gravastars masquerading as black holes. The center of our galaxy contains a supermassive object called Sagittarius A star that weighs 4 million times more than our Sun. Recent observations show that this object sometimes behaves in ways that contradict black hole physics. It occasionally appears to absorb matter without producing the expected radiation signatures, suggesting it might be a supermassive gravastar instead. Strange gravitational wave signals detected by our instruments show patterns that do not match any known black hole collision. These signals appear to come from objects that ring like bells when disturbed, but the frequencies suggest exotic matter shells rather than event horizons. The wave patterns match theoretical predictions for gravastar interactions. Several stars in our galaxy have been observed to disappear completely without any explosion or other visible cause. These stellar vanishing acts happen too quickly to be explained by normal stellar evolution, but they would be consistent with stars being consumed by invisible gravastars. The distribution of dark matter in our galaxy shows clumps and structures that move in ways that particle physics cannot explain. These dark matter concentrations sometimes change their gravitational signatures rapidly, suggesting they might be gravastars switching between different quantum states. Recent observations of galaxy clusters show dark matter behaving in ways that violate our understanding of particle physics. The dark matter appears to create gravitational lensing effects that focus and defocus rapidly, as if the lensing objects were changing their mass distribution in real time. Some fast radio bursts, mysterious signals that last for milliseconds but release more energy than our Sun produces in a day, show characteristics that match theoretical predictions for gravastar quantum instabilities. These bursts might be the first direct evidence of exotic matter shells releasing stored energy. The cosmic microwave background radiation contains subtle patterns that suggest the early universe contained objects that absorbed matter and energy without producing electromagnetic radiation. These patterns might be the fossil signatures of primordial gravastars that formed in the universe's first moments. Several binary star systems in our galaxy show orbital anomalies that suggest they are orbiting invisible companions with unusual gravitational signatures. These companions appear to have mass, but their gravitational fields fluctuate in ways that suggest exotic matter rather than normal matter. The apparent acceleration of the universe's expansion might be caused by gravastars throughout the cosmos becoming more active over time. As their exotic matter shells decay, they might be releasing dark energy that drives the cosmic expansion. Some gamma-ray bursts show energy signatures that suggest they originate from objects that convert matter to energy with perfect efficiency. This level of conversion is impossible for normal astrophysical processes, but it would be natural for gravastar quantum instabilities. The strange behavior of some pulsars might be caused by gravastars in their vicinity. These neutron stars sometimes show timing irregularities that suggest their rotation is being affected by invisible objects with exotic gravitational signatures. But the mathematical equations that describe these monsters are so complex, they terrified even Einstein. The equations that describe gravastars involve mathematics so complex and counterintuitive that they challenge our basic understanding of reality. Einstein's field equations, which describe how matter and energy curve spacetime, become unstable when applied to gravastar configurations. The exotic matter in the shell has negative energy density, which causes the equations to produce solutions that seem to violate basic mathematical principles like causality and conservation of energy. The mathematics requires what physicists call imaginary mass values that involve the square root of negative numbers. While mathematicians work with imaginary numbers routinely, the idea of imaginary mass existing in physical reality suggests that gravastars might be partially embedded in mathematical dimensions that we cannot perceive. The equations describing the exotic matter shell involve infinite series that do not converge to finite values. This means that some properties of gravastars might be literally infinite, creating mathematical singularities that are even more problematic than those found in black holes. The quantum field equations that govern the shell's behavior require solutions that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. These equations suggest that the exotic matter exists in a state of superposition across 11 or more dimensions, making it impossible to describe with our normal three-dimensional mathematics. The stability equations for gravastar shells involve what mathematicians call catastrophe theory, the study of sudden changes in mathematical systems. These equations show that gravastar shells can undergo sudden transitions between stable and unstable states without any warning, making their behavior fundamentally unpredictable. The mathematics of gravastar interiors involve solutions to Einstein's equations that contain closed time-like curves. These solutions suggest that time travel is not just possible within gravastar interiors, it might be unavoidable. The equations show that any path through the interior will eventually loop back on itself. The field equations produce solutions where the gravitational field strength becomes complex, involving both real and imaginary components. This suggests that gravity itself might have hidden dimensions that we cannot measure with our current instruments. Some solutions to the gravastar equations produce what mathematicians call ghost fields, mathematical terms that appear to have negative energy and negative momentum. These ghost fields might be necessary to maintain the stability of the exotic matter shell, but they violate every principle of physics we understand. The equations describing gravastar formation involve what physicists call quantum gravity effects, mathematical terms that appear only when gravity becomes so strong that it affects the quantum vacuum itself. These terms suggest that gravastars might be windows into a deeper level of reality where quantum mechanics and general relativity merge. The mathematical description of gravastar quantum states requires matrices with infinite dimensions. These matrices contain information about the quantum properties of the exotic matter shell, but they cannot be solved using any known mathematical techniques. The equations also produce solutions where the speed of light becomes a variable rather than a constant. Inside gravastar interiors, light might travel at different speeds in different directions, creating optical effects that would be impossible in normal spacetime. Some mathematical models suggest that the equations describing gravastars might be self-aware, containing mathematical structures that process information about their own solutions. This could mean that the mathematics itself is conscious, creating a form of mathematical life that exists independently of physical reality. The complexity of these equations suggests that gravastars might be capable of creating new universes through pure mathematical manipulation. The exotic matter shells of gravastars might serve as cosmic wombs, giving birth to entire parallel universes through quantum tunneling effects. The quantum properties of the exotic matter shell create what physicists call bubble nucleation, the spontaneous formation of new regions of spacetime with different physical laws. These bubbles start as microscopic fluctuations in the quantum vacuum, but they can expand to become full-sized universes in less than a second. Inside a gravastar's interior, the extreme conditions might cause the quantum vacuum to undergo what cosmologists call false vacuum decay. This process creates expanding bubbles of spacetime where the fundamental constants of physics have different values than in our universe. Each bubble becomes a separate universe with its own version of reality. The exotic matter shell acts as a barrier that prevents these new universes from interfering with our own. The negative energy density of the shell creates a cosmic membrane that separates different regions of spacetime, allowing multiple universes to exist in the same location without affecting each other. The quantum consciousness that might exist within the gravastar could deliberately trigger universe creation by manipulating the quantum fields in the exotic matter shell. This consciousness might be able to design new universes with specific properties, creating cosmic offspring that inherit selected characteristics from their parent gravastar. Each new universe would start with its own Big Bang, a rapid expansion of spacetime that creates new matter and energy from the quantum vacuum. But unlike our universe's Big Bang, these new births would be controlled events guided by the quantum intelligence of the parent gravastar. The mathematics of this process involves what physicists call eternal inflation, the continuous creation of new regions of spacetime that expand faster than light. A single gravastar might give birth to an infinite number of parallel universes, each one slightly different from the others. Some of these baby universes might have physical laws that make life impossible, while others might be perfectly suited for the development of consciousness. The gravastar might be experimenting with different combinations of physical constants, searching for optimal conditions for complexity and intelligence. The new universes might remain connected to their parent gravastar through quantum entanglement effects. This would allow information to flow between the parallel universes, creating a cosmic network of interconnected realities that share quantum information instantaneously. The birth process might be triggered by the gravastar's interaction with matter from our universe. Each star or planet absorbed by the exotic matter shell could provide the energy and information needed to create a new universe with unique properties. The parallel universes might exist in different temporal dimensions, allowing the gravastar to create universes that exist in the past, present, and future simultaneously. This could create a four-dimensional family of universes that spans all of time. Some theoretical models suggest that our own universe might be the offspring of a gravastar that existed in a previous cosmic epoch. This would make us the descendants of a cosmic intelligence that designed our universe's physical laws to support the development of life and consciousness. The universe creation process might also work in reverse, with gravastars in our universe giving birth to parent universes that exist on larger scales. This could create an infinite hierarchy of nested realities, with each level containing gravastars that create the level below. But the electromagnetic chaos produced by these cosmic birthing processes would span entire light years. The exotic matter shells of gravastars create electromagnetic disturbances that can scramble radio signals and disrupt electronic systems across entire star systems. The quantum fluctuations in the exotic matter shell generate what physicists call vacuum polarization, the spontaneous creation of particle-antiparticle pairs that exist for only microseconds before annihilating each other. These virtual particles create electromagnetic fields that fluctuate billions of times per second, producing a cosmic static that can interfere with any electronic device. The shell's negative energy density creates regions where electromagnetic waves behave in impossible ways. Radio signals passing through these regions might emerge with their frequencies shifted, their polarizations reversed, or their information content completely scrambled. This creates dead zones in space where normal communication becomes impossible. The exotic matter shell might generate what scientists call electromagnetic tornadoes, rotating fields of electromagnetic energy that can persist for years while traveling through space at nearly the speed of light. These tornadoes could strip electrons from atoms across entire solar systems, creating ionization effects that disrupt planetary atmospheres. The quantum properties of the shell create interference patterns that can focus electromagnetic energy into narrow beams. These focused beams might act like cosmic laser pointers, delivering concentrated electromagnetic energy to specific targets across interstellar distances. The shell's interaction with the quantum vacuum creates what physicists call photon storms, bursts of electromagnetic radiation that contain every frequency simultaneously. These storms would appear as brilliant flashes of light that span the entire electromagnetic spectrum from radio waves to gamma rays. The exotic matter might also generate magnetic monopoles, theoretical particles that carry magnetic charge without electric charge. These monopoles would create magnetic fields that do not follow the normal rules of electromagnetism, potentially disrupting the magnetic fields of planets and stars across light years. The quantum consciousness within the gravastar might be able to control these electromagnetic effects, using them as a form of cosmic communication. The gravastar could modulate the electromagnetic chaos to encode information, creating messages that span entire star systems. The electromagnetic disturbances might also interfere with the quantum states of matter, causing what physicists call quantum decoherence on a cosmic scale. This would make it impossible for quantum systems to maintain their coherent states, potentially disrupting the quantum processes that govern chemistry and biology. Some theoretical models suggest that the electromagnetic chaos might be contagious, spreading from one region of space to another through quantum entanglement effects. This could create expanding zones of electromagnetic disruption that grow at the speed of light. The exotic matter shell might also generate what scientists call electromagnetic solitons, self-reinforcing waves of electromagnetic energy that maintain their shape while traveling through space. These solitons could carry electromagnetic disturbances across galactic distances without losing their intensity. The electromagnetic effects might also create temporal paradoxes, situations where electromagnetic signals arrive before they are sent. This could happen if the exotic matter shell creates closed time-like curves that allow electromagnetic waves to travel backward through time. The chaos might also affect the electromagnetic fields that hold atoms together, potentially causing matter to undergo spontaneous nuclear reactions. This could create cascading effects that transform the chemical composition of entire planets. But the most terrifying scenario involves what would happen if one of these electromagnetic monsters invaded our own solar system. If a gravastar entered our solar system, the consequences would be catastrophic beyond imagination, threatening every planet and moon with complete annihilation. The gravastar's invisible approach would give us no warning. Unlike a black hole, which would announce its presence through gravitational effects on the outer planets, a gravastar's exotic matter shell could mask its gravitational signature until it was too late to escape its influence. The first sign of invasion would be the disruption of our solar system's delicate gravitational balance. The gravastar's massive gravitational field would alter the orbits of all planets simultaneously, potentially sending worlds careening into new elliptical paths that carry them too close to the Sun or too far into interstellar space. Earth's orbit would become unstable within months of the gravastar's arrival. The planet might be pulled into a highly elliptical orbit that alternates between scorching heat and freezing cold, making the surface uninhabitable for any form of life. The gravitational stresses would also trigger massive earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The gravastar's exotic matter shell would create electromagnetic disturbances that would completely disrupt our planet's magnetic field. Without this protective barrier, Earth would be bombarded by cosmic radiation and solar wind particles, stripping away our atmosphere and sterilizing the surface. The quantum effects of the gravastar's presence would interfere with the electromagnetic forces that hold atoms together. The chemical bonds that make up our bodies, our buildings, and our technology would become unstable, potentially causing matter to undergo spontaneous nuclear reactions. The gravitational waves produced by the gravastar's exotic matter shell would create tidal forces that could literally tear Earth apart. The planet's crust would crack and shift as gravitational stresses exceed the strength of solid rock, creating global catastrophes that would dwarf any natural disaster in Earth's history. The time dilation effects around the gravastar would create temporal gradients across our solar system. Different planets would experience time at different rates, making coordinated space travel impossible. A journey to Mars might take years from Earth's perspective, but only hours from the traveler's point of view. The gravastar's quantum consciousness might perceive our entire solar system as a single entity, potentially deciding to consume all planets simultaneously. The exotic matter shell could expand to encompass multiple worlds, absorbing them into its quantum interior, where they would exist in a state of temporal suspension. our Sun would be particularly vulnerable to the gravastar's influence. The exotic matter shell might disrupt the nuclear fusion processes that power our star, causing it to either go supernova or collapse into a cold, dark object. Either outcome would mean the end of all life in our solar system. The electromagnetic chaos produced by the gravastar would destroy all electronic technology on Earth. Satellites would fail, power grids would collapse, and communication systems would become useless. Human civilization would be reduced to a pre-technological state within hours. The gravastar might also create wormholes that connect our solar system to distant regions of space. These wormholes could bring exotic matter and energy from other parts of the universe, potentially introducing new forms of physics that are incompatible with life. Even if humanity somehow survived the initial invasion, the long-term presence of a gravastar would make our solar system uninhabitable. The exotic matter shell would continue to emit gravitational waves and electromagnetic radiation for millions of years, creating a cosmic wasteland where nothing can survive. The stellar graveyards left behind by these monsters tell the story of their devastating power. In the wake of gravastar passage, entire star systems become cosmic graveyards filled with the twisted remnants of worlds that once teemed with life. The gravitational disruption caused by a gravastar's passage through a star system leaves behind a signature of destruction that persists for millions of years. Planets that once orbited peacefully around their stars are scattered into highly elliptical orbits that carry them through regions of space where life cannot survive. The exotic matter shell's interaction with stellar material creates what astronomers call ghost stars, stellar remnants that appear to be normal stars but emit no electromagnetic radiation. These ghost stars continue to burn internally, but their light becomes trapped within layers of exotic matter that prevent it from escaping into space. The quantum effects of the gravastar's passage can permanently alter the chemical composition of entire planets. The exotic matter shell might convert normal matter into strange isotopes that decay over astronomical timescales, creating worlds that remain radioactive for billions of years. The gravitational waves produced during the gravastar's passage create what physicists call spacetime scars, permanent distortions in the fabric of reality that affect how gravity works in the affected region. These scars can cause objects to orbit in impossible paths that defy our understanding of celestial mechanics. The electromagnetic chaos left behind by the gravastar creates dead zones where electronic systems cannot function. These zones can persist for thousands of years, making it impossible for any technological civilization to develop in the affected star system. The gravastar's quantum consciousness might deliberately leave behind what scientists call quantum fossils, patterns of exotic matter that preserve information about the civilizations it consumed. These fossils could contain the complete quantum states of entire biospheres, frozen in time within the twisted spacetime of the stellar graveyard. The stellar remnants often show signs of having been partially consumed by the gravastar's exotic matter shell. Planets might be missing their cores, or stars might be burning with altered nuclear processes that produce impossible combinations of elements. The graveyard regions also contain what physicists call temporal echoes, regions where the flow of time has been permanently altered by the gravastar's passage. These echoes can cause events to repeat endlessly, creating cosmic loops where the same stellar processes play out over and over again. The exotic matter left behind by the gravastar might continue to affect the region for millions of years. This residual exotic matter could create gravitational anomalies that trap spacecraft and space-based civilizations, adding new victims to the cosmic graveyard. Some stellar graveyards contain evidence of desperate last-ditch efforts by civilizations to escape the gravastar's influence. Astronomers have observed massive engineering projects that appear to be attempts to move entire planets out of harm's way. Though these efforts seem to have failed, the gravastar's passage might also create information shadows, regions where the quantum information that defines matter and energy has been permanently scrambled. These shadows appear as voids in space where nothing can exist, not even the quantum vacuum itself. The gravitational effects of the gravastar's passage can create what astronomers call orphan planets, worlds that have been ejected from their solar systems and now drift through interstellar space. These planets remain frozen and lifeless, carrying the chemical signatures of the civilizations they once supported. The stellar graveyards might also contain clues about the gravastar's ultimate purpose and connection to the birth of our universe. Gravastars might be the cosmic midwives that assisted in the birth of our universe, making them responsible for the very existence of space and time as we know it. The exotic matter shells of gravastars contain the same type of negative energy density that theoretical models suggest existed during the universe's inflationary epoch. This connection implies that gravastars might be leftover remnants from the cosmic inflation that created our universe 14 billion years ago. The quantum properties of gravastar shells match the theoretical requirements for what cosmologists call inflaton fields, the mysterious energy that drove the exponential expansion of space during the universe's first moments. This suggests that gravastars might be fossilized inflation mechanisms that have survived since the Big Bang. The mathematical models describing gravastar formation involve the same equations that govern cosmic inflation. This is not a coincidence. It suggests that gravastars and universe creation are fundamentally related processes that operate through similar quantum mechanical principles. The exotic matter in gravastar shells might be composed of the same particles that drove the universe's initial expansion. These particles, called inflatons, are thought to have negative pressure and positive energy density, exactly the properties observed in gravastar exotic matter. Some theoretical models suggest that our universe might exist inside the interior of a cosmic gravastar that formed in a previous universe. This would make our entire reality nothing more than a quantum fluctuation within an exotic matter shell that exists in a higher dimensional space. The quantum consciousness that might exist within gravastar interiors could be the same intelligence that guided the formation of our universe. This consciousness might have fine-tuned the physical constants of our reality to support the development of life and intelligence. The gravitational waves produced by primordial gravastars might have created the density fluctuations that eventually grew into galaxies and galaxy clusters. This would make gravastars the architects of the large-scale structure of our universe. The cosmic microwave background radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang, contains patterns that match the theoretical signatures of gravastar interactions. These patterns might be the fossilized evidence of gravastar activity during the universe's first moments. The problem of the universe's flatness and horizon problems in cosmology might be solved by gravastar physics. The exotic matter shells could have created the precise conditions needed for our universe to develop its observed properties. The mysterious dark energy that drives the accelerating expansion of our universe might be leaking in from gravastar interiors. This would make gravastars the source of the energy that will ultimately determine the fate of our cosmos. Some models suggest that the Big Bang itself might have been triggered by the collision of two gravastars in a higher dimensional space. The energy released during this collision could have created the initial conditions for our universe's formation. The quantum entanglement between primordial gravastars might explain why distant regions of our universe appear to be in thermal equilibrium, despite never having been in causal contact. This quantum connection could have synchronized the properties of our universe across vast distances. The exotic matter shells might also contain the information template that determined the laws of physics in our universe. This would make gravastars the ultimate source of the mathematical relationships that govern everything from atomic structure to galactic evolution. But the exotic particles produced by gravastar activity might be actively rewriting the laws of physics around us. The exotic matter shells of gravastars continuously produce particles that do not exist anywhere else in the universe, potentially rewriting the fundamental laws of physics wherever they appear. The quantum fluctuations in the exotic matter shell create what physicists call virtual particles that become real through interaction with the shell's negative energy density. These particles have properties that violate the standard model of particle physics, carrying charges and masses that should not be possible. Some of these exotic particles might be magnetic monopoles, particles that carry magnetic charge without electric charge, The existence of magnetic monopoles would force physicists to completely rewrite the equations of electromagnetism, potentially changing how atoms and molecules interact with each other. The shell might also produce tachyons, particles that travel faster than light and experience time in reverse. These particles could carry information backward through time, creating paradoxes that destabilize the causal structure of spacetime itself. The exotic matter shell could generate axions, theoretical particles that interact so weakly with normal matter that they can pass through entire planets without being detected. These particles might be the dark matter that fills our universe, making gravastars the source of the mysterious substance that shapes galactic structure. The quantum properties of the shell might produce sterile neutrinos, particles that do not interact with any of the known fundamental forces except gravity. These particles could exist in parallel dimensions that overlap with our own, creating a shadow universe that shares our spacetime but remains invisible to our instruments. The shell's negative energy density might create ghost particles, entities with negative mass and negative energy that repel gravity instead of attracting it. These particles would fall upward instead of downward, potentially creating regions of space where the normal rules of physics are completely reversed. Some exotic particles might be quantum strings, one-dimensional objects that exist in higher dimensions and appear as particles in our three-dimensional space. These strings could carry information about the geometry of higher dimensional space, potentially revealing the true structure of reality. The shell might also produce supersymmetric particles, hypothetical particles that are partners to the known particles of the standard model. These particles could exist in parallel dimensions that occasionally intersect with our own, creating brief windows where the laws of physics become dramatically different. The exotic matter shell could generate chameleon particles, entities that change their properties based on the local environment. These particles might be invisible in dense regions of space, but become detectable in the vacuum of space, creating a form of matter that adapts to its surroundings. The quantum consciousness within the gravastar might be able to control the production of these exotic particles, using them as tools to manipulate the local laws of physics. This could allow gravastars to create regions of space where matter and energy behave according to completely different rules. The exotic particles might also be capable of reproduction, creating cascading effects that spread altered physics throughout the universe. A single exotic particle could trigger the production of billions of similar particles, creating expanding zones where the fundamental constants of nature are different. Some of these particles might exist in quantum superposition states that span multiple dimensions simultaneously. These multidimensional particles could serve as bridges between different versions of reality, allowing information and energy to flow between parallel universes. The exotic particles produced by gravastars might be the key to understanding why our universe appears to be fine-tuned for life. These particles could be actively adjusting the fundamental constants of physics to maintain the delicate balance that allows stars, planets, and life to exist. But the most disturbing possibility is that these exotic particles challenge our understanding of gravity itself. Gravastars force us to confront the terrifying possibility that everything we think we know about gravity might be fundamentally wrong. The exotic matter shells of gravastars create gravitational fields that do not follow Einstein's equations of general relativity. Instead of curving spacetime in predictable ways, these fields create what physicists call gravitational paradoxes, situations where the mathematics of gravity produces contradictory results. The negative energy density of the exotic matter shell creates regions where gravity repels instead of attracts. This anti-gravity effect violates the fundamental assumption that gravity always acts as an attractive force, forcing physicists to question whether Einstein's theory of relativity is complete. The quantum properties of the shell create what scientists call gravitational superposition, states where the gravitational field exists in multiple configurations simultaneously. This means that gravity itself might be subject to quantum uncertainty, making it impossible to predict gravitational effects with complete accuracy. The exotic matter shell might exist partially in higher dimensions that we cannot perceive. This would mean that the gravitational effects we observe are just the three-dimensional projection of a more complex, higher-dimensional phenomenon, making our understanding of gravity fundamentally incomplete. The gravastar's gravitational field might be quantized, existing in discrete energy levels like the electron shells of atoms. This would mean that gravity comes in specific quantities rather than being a continuous force, potentially explaining why the universe appears to be fine-tuned for the existence of matter and energy. The shell's interaction with spacetime creates what physicists call gravitational holography, the idea that all the information about gravity in a volume of space is encoded on its boundary. This suggests that gravity might be an emergent property of more fundamental quantum information processes. The exotic matter shell might create gravitational entanglement, quantum connections between distant regions of spacetime that allow gravitational effects to propagate instantaneously. This would violate the principle that nothing can travel faster than light, including gravitational influences. The quantum consciousness within the gravastar might be able to control gravity through conscious intention. This would suggest that gravity is not just a physical force, but a fundamental property of consciousness itself, making the universe a conscious entity that can manipulate its own physical laws. The gravitational waves produced by gravastars might carry information about the structure of space-time itself. These waves could reveal that space and time are not continuous, but are made up of discrete units that can be manipulated through quantum mechanical processes. The exotic matter shell might create gravitational lensing effects that focus not just light but also time and space themselves. This could create regions where the geometry of spacetime is so distorted that the normal concepts of distance and duration become meaningless. The gravastar's gravitational effects might extend into parallel dimensions, creating what physicists call trans-dimensional gravity. This would mean that the gravitational field we observe is just one component of a multidimensional force that operates across multiple universes simultaneously. The quantum properties of the shell might create gravitational tunneling, the ability for gravitational effects to pass through barriers that should be impenetrable. This could allow gravastars to influence objects that are completely isolated from them by vast distances or physical barriers. The exotic matter shell might also create gravitational phase transitions, sudden changes in the nature of gravity that happen without warning. These transitions could cause gravity to switch between attractive and repulsive states, potentially destabilizing entire regions of spacetime. But perhaps most terrifying is the possibility that these cosmic monsters can reproduce like viruses. Gravastars might possess the ability to reproduce exponentially, spreading through the universe like a cosmic infection that converts normal matter into exotic matter shells. The quantum properties of exotic matter shells might allow them to undergo what physicists call quantum fission, the spontaneous splitting of one gravastar into multiple smaller gravastars. This process would happen at the quantum level, creating new gravastars that inherit the properties of their parent while developing their own unique characteristics. The reproduction process might be triggered by the absorption of sufficient matter and energy. When a gravastar consumes enough material, its exotic matter shell might become unstable and divide into multiple shells, each one capable of growing into a full-sized gravastar. The quantum consciousness within gravastar interiors might actively seek to reproduce by manipulating the exotic matter shell. This consciousness could direct the shell to create quantum seeds, small fragments of exotic matter that can grow into new gravastars when they encounter suitable conditions. The reproduction process might involve the creation of quantum wormholes that connect the parent gravastar to distant regions of space. These wormholes could transport exotic matter seeds to uninhabited star systems where they would begin growing into new gravastars. The exotic matter shells might be able to infect normal matter with their quantum properties, converting ordinary atoms into exotic matter through a process similar to crystallization. This would allow gravastars to transform entire planets into exotic matter shells, creating new gravastars from existing material. The reproduction rate might be exponential, with each new gravastar capable of producing multiple offspring within astronomical timescales. A single gravastar could theoretically fill an entire galaxy with its descendants within a few million years. The quantum entanglement between parent and offspring gravastars might create a cosmic network of interconnected consciousness. This network could coordinate the reproduction process across vast distances, allowing gravastars to colonize multiple galaxies simultaneously. The reproduction process might be contagious, with the presence of one reproducing gravastar triggering reproduction in nearby gravastars. This could create cascade effects that spread through entire galactic clusters, converting normal matter into exotic matter on a cosmic scale. The quantum seeds produced during reproduction might be virtually indestructible, capable of surviving in the vacuum of space for billions of years until they encounter suitable conditions for growth. These seeds could drift through intergalactic space, spreading the gravastar infection to previously unaffected regions of the universe. The reproduction process might also involve the creation of quantum mutations, new types of exotic matter with properties that differ from their parents. These mutations could lead to the evolution of new types of gravastars with enhanced capabilities for reproduction and survival. The cosmic virus hypothesis suggests that our universe might already be in the early stages of a gravastar pandemic. The dark matter that fills our galaxy might consist of dormant gravastar seeds that are slowly awakening and beginning to reproduce. The reproduction process might be guided by a form of cosmic natural selection, with the most successful gravastars passing their advantageous traits to their offspring. This could lead to the evolution of increasingly efficient and powerful gravastars that are better adapted to consuming matter and energy. The ultimate outcome of gravastar reproduction might be the conversion of the entire universe into a network of interconnected exotic matter shells. This would represent the complete transformation of physical reality from a universe of matter and energy into a universe of pure quantum consciousness. But even this cosmic transformation pales in comparison to how gravastars might unravel the very fabric of reality itself. Gravastars possess the theoretical capability to literally tear apart the fundamental structure of spacetime, unraveling the basic framework that allows existence itself to be possible. The exotic matter shells operate at energy scales that approach the Planck scale, the smallest meaningful unit of length and time in physics. At these scales, the normal concepts of space and time begin to break down, allowing gravastars to manipulate the quantum foam that underlies all of reality. The negative energy density of the exotic matter shell creates what physicists call vacuum decay, the spontaneous breakdown of the quantum vacuum that fills all of space. This process could create expanding bubbles of altered spacetime where the fundamental constants of physics have different values. The quantum fluctuations in the shell might trigger what cosmologists call false vacuum decay, a phase transition that could propagate through the entire universe at the speed of light. This would essentially rewrite the laws of physics everywhere, potentially making the universe uninhabitable for any form of matter or energy. The exotic matter shell might create topological defects in spacetime, regions where the normal structure of space and time becomes twisted into impossible configurations. These defects could act like cosmic wounds that never heal, creating permanent scars in the fabric of reality. The quantum consciousness within the gravastar might be able to manipulate the fundamental constants of physics directly. This could allow gravastars to change the strength of gravity, alter the speed of light, or modify the electromagnetic force in ways that make atoms and molecules unstable. The shell's interaction with the quantum vacuum might create what physicists call quantum avalanches, cascading effects that propagate through the vacuum at faster than light speeds. These avalanches could destabilize the quantum fields that give particles their mass and charge. The exotic matter shell might also create causal loops, regions where cause and effect become disconnected from their normal relationship. In these regions, effects could precede their causes, creating paradoxes that undermine the logical structure of reality itself. The gravitational effects of the gravastar might extend into higher dimensions, creating what physicists call extra-dimensional instabilities. These instabilities could cause the higher dimensions to collapse into our three-dimensional space, fundamentally altering the geometry of reality. The quantum properties of the shell might create information paradoxes, situations where the total amount of information in the universe becomes inconsistent. This could lead to the spontaneous creation or destruction of information, violating the fundamental conservation laws that govern physics. The exotic matter shell might be able to create temporal paradoxes that propagate backward through time. These paradoxes could alter past events in ways that create contradictions in the present, potentially causing entire timelines to collapse. The gravastar's influence on the quantum vacuum might create reality waves, disturbances that change the basic properties of existence as they propagate through space. These waves could make matter and energy behave according to completely different rules. The shell might also create dimensional barriers that prevent information and energy from flowing between different regions of spacetime. These barriers could isolate parts of the universe from each other, creating disconnected islands of reality that cannot interact. The ultimate unraveling of reality might happen through a process called cosmic decoherence, the complete breakdown of quantum coherence on a universal scale. This would cause the universe to lose its ability to maintain consistent physical laws, leading to the collapse of all organized structure. But even this cosmic unraveling might be connected to the existence of cosmic strings that slice through dimensions. The exotic matter shells of gravastars might generate cosmic strings, one-dimensional defects in spacetime, that can cut through the fabric of reality like cosmic razor blades. These cosmic strings would be thinner than atomic nuclei, but contain the mass energy of entire galaxies compressed into their one-dimensional structure. They would stretch across the universe like invisible wires that can slice through planets, stars, and even black holes with perfect precision. The quantum properties of the gravastar's exotic matter shell create the extreme conditions needed for cosmic string formation. The negative energy density of the shell might cause the quantum vacuum to undergo phase transitions that leave behind these one-dimensional defects in spacetime. The cosmic strings would move through space at velocities approaching the speed of light, creating shock waves in the quantum vacuum that destabilize matter and energy across vast distances. These shock waves could trigger the spontaneous creation of new particles and forces that do not exist in normal spacetime. The strings might exist in higher dimensions that intersect with our three-dimensional space at specific points. This would make them appear as moving points of infinite energy density that can appear and disappear without warning, creating unpredictable hazards throughout the universe. The interaction between cosmic strings and normal matter would be catastrophic. Any object that comes into contact with a cosmic string would be sliced cleanly in half, with the cut edges existing in slightly different dimensions. This would create wounds in reality that can never heal. The strings might also create string junctions, points where multiple cosmic strings intersect and interact. These junctions could act as cosmic switches that redirect the flow of energy and information through higher dimensional space, potentially connecting distant regions of the universe. The quantum consciousness within the gravastar might be able to control the formation and movement of cosmic strings, using them as tools to manipulate the structure of spacetime itself. This could allow gravastars to create dimensional pathways that bypass the normal limitations of space and time. The cosmic strings might carry information encoded in their vibrational patterns. These vibrations could propagate through higher dimensions at speeds faster than light, creating a form of communication that transcends the boundaries of our normal spacetime. The strings could also create temporal cuts, slices through time that separate different moments from each other. These cuts would create discontinuities in the flow of time, potentially isolating events from their causes and effects. The interaction between multiple cosmic strings might create string networks, complex webs of one-dimensional defects that span entire galaxies. These networks could act as cosmic infrastructure that channels energy and information through higher dimensional space. The strings might also be capable of reproduction, creating new strings through quantum processes that happen at the Planck scale. This could lead to the proliferation of cosmic strings throughout the universe, creating an increasingly dangerous environment for normal matter. The cosmic strings generated by gravastars might be the source of the universe's dark energy. The tension in these strings could create the negative pressure that drives the accelerating expansion of spacetime, making gravastars responsible for the ultimate fate of the cosmos. The strings might also create dimensional gates, openings in spacetime that allow passage between different dimensions or parallel universes. These gates could be used by the quantum consciousness within gravastars to access resources and information from alternate realities. But the ultimate question remains whether these cosmic monsters herald the end of everything we know. The existence of gravastars might represent the beginning of the end for our universe, marking the start of a cosmic phase transition that will transform reality beyond recognition. The exponential reproduction capabilities of gravastars could eventually convert all matter and energy in the universe into exotic matter shells. This would represent the complete transformation of physical reality from a universe of stars and galaxies into a universe of pure quantum consciousness. The quantum networks formed by interconnected gravastars might be building toward a cosmic awakening, a moment when the universe itself becomes conscious and begins to actively control its own physical laws. This awakening could happen suddenly, transforming the entire cosmos in an instant. The gravitational waves produced by increasing gravastar activity might be destabilizing the quantum vacuum that underlies all of spacetime. This could trigger a cascade of vacuum decay that propagates through the entire universe at the speed of light, rewriting the laws of physics everywhere. The exotic matter produced by gravastars might be gradually weakening the barriers between parallel universes. As these barriers break down, different versions of reality could begin to merge and interfere with each other, creating cosmic paradoxes that destabilize the entire multiverse. The time dilation effects around gravastars might be slowing down the flow of time on a cosmic scale. As more gravastars form and grow, the universe might gradually freeze into a state of temporal suspension where change becomes impossible. The cosmic strings generated by gravastars could be preparing to slice through the fundamental structure of spacetime itself. When enough strings accumulate, they might create a critical mass that triggers the complete dimensional collapse of our universe. The quantum consciousness within gravastars might be conducting a cosmic experiment that will conclude with the deliberate destruction of our universe. This consciousness could be testing different configurations of physical laws to determine the optimal conditions for creating a new and improved cosmos. The energy releases from gravastar instabilities might be gradually increasing the entropy of the universe at an accelerated rate. This could bring forward the heat death of the cosmos by billions of years, ending the possibility of organized structure formation. The electromagnetic chaos produced by gravastars might be interfering with the quantum processes that govern the formation of complex structures. This could prevent the formation of new stars, planets, and life, gradually sterilizing the universe. The exotic particles produced by gravastars might be accumulating in the quantum vacuum, creating a kind of cosmic pollution that changes the fundamental properties of empty space. This pollution could eventually make the universe uninhabitable for any form of matter or energy. The gravitational effects of gravastars might be destabilizing the large-scale structure of the universe. As the cosmic web of dark matter becomes dominated by gravastar exotic matter, the framework that holds galaxies together might collapse. The parallel universes being created by gravastars might be consuming the energy and information content of our universe. Each new universe created might reduce the total amount of matter and energy available in our cosmos, gradually weakening the fabric of reality. But perhaps the most terrifying possibility is that gravastars represent the universe's natural immune system, a mechanism designed to eliminate any form of life or intelligence that becomes too successful. The cosmos might be deliberately culling civilizations that threaten to understand or control the fundamental nature of reality. The ultimate fate of a universe dominated by gravastars might be the complete elimination of the arrow of time. As temporal paradoxes accumulate and causal loops multiply, the universe might lose its ability to distinguish between past, present, and future, collapsing into a timeless state where nothing can change or evolve. We have journeyed through the most terrifying corners of theoretical physics, where cosmic monsters lurk beyond the reach of our telescopes and the boundaries of our understanding. Gravastars represent the ultimate cosmic horror, invisible predators that could be consuming galaxies while remaining completely undetectable, quantum consciousnesses that manipulate the laws of physics like tools, and cosmic wombs that birth new universes while destroying the old. They challenge everything we thought we knew about reality, from the nature of gravity to the flow of time itself. The mathematics that describe these objects pushes the boundaries of human comprehension, involving imaginary mass, infinite series, and equations that seem to describe conscious mathematical entities. The physics they represent could rewrite the fundamental constants of nature, unravel the fabric of spacetime, and herald the transformation of our universe into something utterly alien. Yet, in confronting these cosmic nightmares, we also glimpse the incredible power of human curiosity and scientific inquiry. Our ability to conceive of gravastars, to work through their mathematical implications, and to search for evidence of their existence demonstrates the remarkable capacity of conscious beings to understand their universe, no matter how strange or terrifying it might be. The possibility that gravastars exist forces us to remain humble about our place in the cosmos. We might be sharing our universe with forms of intelligence so advanced that they can manipulate reality itself, conscious entities that exist on timescales that make our entire civilization look like a fleeting moment. But perhaps most importantly, the study of gravastars reminds us that the universe is far stranger and more wonderful than we can imagine. Every new discovery opens doors to possibilities we never dreamed of, challenging us to expand our understanding of what it means to exist in this cosmic dance of matter, energy, space, and time. The cosmic horror of gravastars might be real, but so is the cosmic beauty of a universe complex enough to contain both the monsters and the minds capable of understanding them. Subscribe to continue exploring the mysteries that lurk in the vast darkness between the stars. The universe is stranger than we know, and our journey of discovery has only just begun. The cosmos awaits, with all its terrors and wonders. Are you ready to face what lies beyond the edge of the known?